Welcome to Waiting on the Trade, a comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
And I'm Bryce Manning.
This month, we're talking about Volume 1 of Heartstopper, a charming teen romance by Alice Oseman.
It's always nice when it's just one creator, right?
Do you think I pronounced that correctly, though? Might have still goofed it up.
I mean, I hope so. I hope you did, just for tradition's sake.
Oseman?
Oseman.
Oseman?
Now, in case you need a refresher, Heartstopper is the story of Charlie, an year 10 student, and Nick, a year 11 student who surprisingly finds his friendship with Charlie may be the start of something more. As Volume 1 concludes, Charlie and Nick act on their feelings for each other, but Nick finds he's not quite ready to accept what his feelings mean about himself. So yeah, that was Heartstopper.
Yeah, for sure. First off, Bryce, you're back.
I am back.
I'm surprised. I'm glad.
I'm surprised? Was Bryce going to bail out
I'm
the
surprised
podcast?
also.
I'm always surprised when guests come back. It's always such a pleasant thing.
I didn't think I would.
I know. But you came back with this very cute comic, so...
I didn't know any of this. I would have been so sad.
Yeah.
No. I'm just making it up. Joshin. No, I'm trying to think of what a rugby player would say. I don't know.
Hey, bruv. Hey, mate.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the podcast, huh?
Just having some bants. Don't worry. That's what bants are, right?
And then
Gosh,
tickling fights
sure.
break out.
I don't know. I just don't know. Tickling
That's how it
fights.
happened in the old American high school locker room, too, let me tell you.
British English is just the whole nother animal.
Anyways, yes, Bryce, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm here.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Sure. What made you want to pick this comic to talk about? What about this comic made you feel like, hey, I will do this podcast one more time?
Well, because the Netflix algorithm has me pegged as a single gay man that likes rom-coms. So when this show came out, it was aggressively marketed to me. And also all my gay friends would just not shut up about it. So yeah, that's how I heard about it.
Nice. Yeah, and I think I told you in Discord, like after you suggested it, I've seen it literally everywhere around the city here. Bookstores, library. Went to the library this afternoon and they actually had it on their like new and featured shelf again.
Oh, the display? Nice.
Yeah. So like it was there this afternoon. It was at Target because oh my god. The renaissance of Target selling books because no one buys DVDs anymore, I love personally, but that's an entirely separate podcast, I think.
Even Googling Heartstopper and Netflix brings up like special animations and stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day when I just typed in Heartstopper and there were some little butterflies. It was nice.
What, really?
Yeah, just type in Heartstopper in your search bar and I think it was butterflies. It's either butterflies or leaves.
Oh my god, there they are! What?
Hey man.
Crazy.
It's a big deal, this show / comic /
I can get them to play again. Look at that.
Multimedia juggernaut.
One of the most watched ones during the summer on Netflix.
You can just spam those leaves, by the way. It's cool. Right.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's good.
It is good.
Yeah. Cute, simple, teen love story.
I read it in the space of like probably 2 hours the first time, and I think I reread it in about an hour and a half the other night. So, you know.
I've read all of it
in
the span of 2 days. So,
like the whole.
When I say all of it, I mean like all
online.
Yeah. All of the comic that is available online. It's on hiatus right now, which is very sad because it left off at a very pivotal moment, but that's okay.
Hiatuses suck.
Authors need a break.
Yeah, they do.
Especially when they've written a TV show in addition to.
Yeah. Right. Just hopefully she doesn't turn into a.
I was gonna say at least they're both still coming out. It seems like so.
Yeah, it seems like season 1 on Netflix covers volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah, I was saying the first 3 episodes seemed to cover volume 1, but from what I watched, it adds, like you were saying just a moment ago off mic, Bryce. It adds characters and like plot lines that aren't in the comic book.
Mm.
I think Imogen is a new character in the TV show. I had no idea who she was when she crept up. So yeah, Matt, there's a girl who likes Nick
Oh,
in the TV show.
does she show up later in the webcomic?
No, she's not in the webcomic at all.
Oh, intriguing. Yeah, I was saying before we recorded, like I haven't watched any of the TV show yet because I didn't want to like have different notions of the stuff that I read. And I also have not read ahead yet because I didn't want to get any like additional knowledge before we talked about it. Kat has read ahead a little bit because she read it and was like, "This is cute," and
It's
kept
very
reading
cute.
it online. So Kat says that it continues to be good. So
It does.
Yep.
I highly recommend, if you like it, you should keep reading it because it continues to be as cute and as good. But yeah, I like how the Netflix show, like, Matt, remind me, you don't know who Elle is yet, right? In volume 1?
Yeah, Elle's not in the book.
I don't believe so.
Okay. She shows up later in the comic, but in the TV show, they introduce her much earlier. And they also seem to be going through Tara and what's her girlfriend's name? Darcy.
Mm-hmm.
In the comic book, they've been together and out as lesbians. In the TV show, they're sort of like meeting up the timeline of Nick and Charlie and her, like being out, which sort of
okay.
works.
I think they were out a little bit before.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but they haven't it hasn't been like public yet.
Yeah.
Right. I read some of the episode descriptions for the next stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole thing about
And
being
Elle's
out at
trans.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Elle's a trans student.
Yeah. Which I felt like she didn't get as much due in the comic, which I was happy to see that she has more of an intro in the show.
And then same with Tao also. Tao barely exists in volume 1.
True. He shows up more later on, but yeah.
All right, so the story has been a webcomic in multiple forms, it looks like, on like a couple different platforms. Now it's on Webtoon, because all hail our Webtoon overlords. It's been a TV show, and Pat, you were wondering...
Oh, right. Hey, look, segue.
Ah!
Well, yeah, I had read while reading through the comic online, I read it on Tapas, whatever how you
Oh, really?
pronounce
Because
it.
I was reading it on Webtoon I did look at a few of the pages from Volume 1 just to see how the layouts were different between the two. So
Sure. I think Tapas gives the creators some sort of monetary thing based on views and stuff. I don't know.
Webtoon does too, and I would imagine,
Okay, cool.
this is popular enough that it's making money on Webtoon. I'm looking at the stats. It's got like almost 400 million views. So.
Yeah, I'll probably go back and actually buy the volumes because I like it enough I want to support it. I want to keep going. But yeah, I was reading the author. She writes little notes at the end of most of the little chapters, episodes. And she was talking about the fact that lots of these characters, the two main characters themselves, are from one of her young adult novels, which if I were prepared, I would tell you what the name of it is, but I am not.
I was going to look and see
Solitaire?
the back of the book here.
I want to say it's Solitaire.
It is. It is
Hey.
Solitaire. Because that's the novel that I was telling you guys, like, yeah, I like Tori, so I would potentially read that novel.
Yeah, it's a novel that has Tori, who is Charlie's older sister, as the main character, and both Nick and Charlie show up as minor characters in that one, which I think is cool that Alice Oseman has like a whole like universe of these characters that she's just writing stories about.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, right?
Fun.
Like in the author's note at the end of the book version of Volume 1, she talks about, they showed up in this novel and like they're in a firm, loving, supportive relationship. Like, how did they get there? Was the question that was in the back of her mind. And thus Heartstopper.
Yeah, and a few of the other side characters have their own spin-offs, which is cool. So if you like a character and you want to know more, here's a novel. And that brings me to my question. Do you guys think that this story about Charlie and Nick would have played any better as a novel than as a comic?
No, next question.
All right, cool. What makes you say that?
I actually thought about this today, and I was like, "There's literally one
I hope
scene that
so.
I could tell." Well, duh, I thought about it, but like, I settled on one scene that I'm like, "This, there's no way this could possibly be better as a novel than as a comic," and it's actually the scene where Tori shows up and the word "appear" appears over her head. It's
That's
like,
so good.
it's perfect. Like, you can't do it better, and like, you can't do it quite that off kilter and fun in a novel. I mean, there's lots of reasons, right, that I think it makes sense for it to be a comic versus it being a novel. I'd be curious as like since Alice Oseman had written a novel, why she chose to make this into a comic instead. That would be an interesting question that I would, if I had Osmond for an interview. I'm sure someone must have asked that at some point. Maybe we'll try to
Well,
find it
there's a
for the
bunch
show
of
notes.
Q&A little snippets on the, I don't know if Webtoon has it, but Tapas has little,
Okay.
I think a couple of those go over that a little bit.
Okay, I'll see if I can find those. I mean, like there's so much stuff in here. Like you get the nice like scenes where they're like about to touch hands and they don't, and like you could do that as a novel, but I think it's you can control the pacing better as a comic. Like comics do really great stuff with being able to control how fast the reader is moving through a scene or not. And I think especially with something like this where a lot of the drama is in exploring their emotions at their pace, that works really well. So I don't know. I think it would have lost a lot of cute glances and stuff. Also,
For sure.
Yeah.
I guess what are your guys' thoughts?
Bryce, what do you think?
I mean, I think there's pros and cons to either one, and yeah, the comic form definitely allows for more visual, obviously, visual expression. But I think with the novel form, you would have more opportunity to really build out the world building and all the side characters and everything at the same time. And whereas with the comic form, I think you just need to stick with just Nick and Charlie,
Yeah,
and
smaller
then
focus, sure.
create different books for the different characters. But yeah, pros and cons to each.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think one of the other cons would be that like you don't get to be in the characters' heads as much in a comic, especially a comic like
Yeah,
this
that
where
was my
there's
thing.
not narration.
That if it were to be a novelization, we could get the inner thoughts of the characters as they're going through things. Or in this, they sort of sometimes do that, but
Yeah, you get some
it's
thought balloons, but that's about
it's mostly just expressions and that kind of stuff, which it works. This isn't like an overly complicated romance as of yet. It does get more complicated later on, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that I like these illustrations are so cute. I don't want to say I wouldn't want that, but it would be interested to see what a novelization would be.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I kind of like not being completely in their heads too for some of it because I kind of like being an observer, seeing Charlie and like especially Nick going through this stuff. Like I don't know if reading Nick's narration of like being unsure about his feelings would be as compelling as just like seeing him type it into Google, which was one of my favorite scenes where you break like he's just like am I
How to
gay?
tell if
Yeah,
you're
like am I
gay?
gay?
Yeah.
Like that was actually one of my favorite sequences, and I think it's done
Mhm.
really well in the comic form, especially because again the pacing is really controlled. Like you get a few panels of him just being like sad, what, huh? Wait, laptop. The grab, search bar just kind of sitting there. Like it's paced really well, and then you get that great page where it's just a bunch of "Am I gay? How gay are you?" The gay quiz
The
with
gay quiz. Yeah.
results.
Oh no, poor Nick.
I like girls, but now I like a boy? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Like,
What?
I think that scene is a really indicative of the strengths of it being a comic versus being a novel. So,
You could do a half and half version like the Japanese light novels,
that's true.
Well, there you go.
in which it's a page of text and a page of comic.
Which is basically just a children's book, right? I'm not a person who's done light novels, I
True.
guess. I've only been
True.
light novel adjacent, so I've never really understood them, but maybe I will get into them someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was, because the author has done novels about adjacent characters in this world. It's like, you know what? Maybe this too Could be a novel sometime.
I
Who
mean,
knows?
it seems like it's adaptable, right? If you guys say the TV show is very good and the comic is good, like maybe there will just be like a young adult novel version someday for people who don't like comics, because there are still people out there that are like, comics? No.
I mean, could be. It sort of blew my mind when I read that the author is like 5 years younger than us, or me at least. It's like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, she's got so many published books and this really cute comic that's exploding everywhere.
Pat, we publish 2 podcasts every month. It's basically the same thing.
She's 28. What am I doing with my life? Ah,
27. She'll be 28 on the 16th.
shit! Shut up, Bryce. God damn it.
Rub, rub, rub.
Oh no. Good for you, Alice. I'm so happy for you.
I think the other thing I would miss if it wasn't a comic is the lettering, actually. Because I think the lettering adds a lot to the story, which is why my question is, how do you feel Osman's lettering style adds to the story? I think it makes it a bit cuter, and like it really solidifies how people are saying the things they're saying. Like there's lots of word balloons that are really wobbly when people are like unsure about their feelings or like nervous about what they're saying. And like
Well, it gives it warmth, right? As opposed to
yeah.
a font
Yeah.
as a uniform.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like it looks very hand lettered. I would assume it is. Like it looks like someone's writing all these letters, right?
Yeah.
And like there's underlines when people are saying things boldly. I'm looking at the page now where gosh, I keep on messing up their names. Where Nick is about to like beat up Ben because he's basically assaulting Charlie, and the word "stop" there is underlined, and then on the next page, "fuck off" is all caps. Like you get the question marks and the exclamation points throughout. You get some emojis in the lettering. Like I think the lettering does a lot to add to it being a cute high school story. And again, I think that's something you'd lose if you made it into not a comic. Have you guys read any books where they try to do like emoticons and stuff in dialogue?
In a novel?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I know I've seen it in some YA stuff, and like sometimes it works and sometimes it just feels really weird to me. Like it's a page of the characters like texting each other, and they'll have that.
So it's like a phone?
Yeah, yeah. Or like chat, like online chat too. And sometimes it works really well. I think John Green did it in some of his stuff. The Fault in Our Stars
I don't
guy.
think I've read any book where the characters text each other, and I don't know if I have. Oh no. Yeah, I don't think I read Our Fault in Our Stars, A Fault in Our Stars, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I don't think there was texting that. I don't remember.
Okay. I know there's some in at least one of his books, but I've read a few of them at this point, so can't remember which one exactly. But did you guys notice the lettering, I guess, as you were reading?
I mean, I saw. I mean, I made note that it was like a handwritten style.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Alice doesn't really like change the font by character. Like everyone's lettering looks similar, and it only really changes with like emotion.
Yeah.
Or if she wants to like accentuate like a word or two.
Yeah, even the cell phone buzz is the same.
Yeah, when it's a text, she just shows the phone screen, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I think that's actually the only thing that's different. Which is
I think that works.
Yeah, which is nice too, because you can read like more of them at once more quickly, I think.
Yeah, like at the beginning, they show you Charlie's text with Ben, and I missed the fact that the library question mark or whatever, like the repeated messages were like days apart. I thought it was just him like repeatedly saying, "Let's go to the library. No, let's go here. No, let's go back to the library." It's like, wow, Ben is really just all over the place. But no, it's him saying, "I want to kiss you here. Meet me here. Now meet me here the next day." But yeah.
Yeah.
I like it, and I do think the comic would lose something if it were not handwritten as it is.
Yeah, Ben, what a mess, huh? While we're here, we can step into that digression quick.
They were definitely doing more than just kissing. I know this book is supposed to be for teens, but
Well, yeah, that's what I was wondering. The fact that this is written by a woman, I'm wondering if this were written by a gay man if they would, like, they always bring up like blushing or like whatever, but never talk about hiding erections. Like, I think that would be the biggest problem that a teen
Well,
boy would have.
I think she was thinking of her target audience, and didn't want to include certain things.
Sure,
It gets
sure.
less cute when you
Yeah.
start talking about penises, Pat. Come on.
Because this book is taught in some schools, in some high schools, and so it's got to be age appropriate.
I mean, sure, but I mean, that would be like the number one problem I would think Charlie would be
I
having.
know.
I mean, I also think you lose a
Okay.
lot of your teen girl audience when you start doing that also.
Fair.
Which
fair.
apparently, like, I think Cal was talking to us about that when he was on last time. Like, his nieces are super into this book, so teen girls probably also a big part of the audience.
Yeah, that's an interesting. That was going to be my question about what did you guys think about the fact that this and so many other gay romance stories are written by women, which I always think is interesting. And it seems to be written for, as we were just pointing out, for a female audience in some ways.
Actually, I don't know if that's exactly true, but I think it definitely
I don't
is.
know if it's true for this one, but I know other stories in like anime and stuff.
Yeah, actually, one of the books that Bryce came on to talk with us about, like, was primarily had like a female audience. I feel like, and I'm forgetting the name of
Yeah.
it right off the top. of my head.
Wodakoi.
Yes. Yeah. No, was it that one?
No, the
no.
mind reading.
No, the only BL I think I've done with you guys is Wodakoi.
No, we did the
Fairy magic.
yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I
on,
did forget
Bryce.
about that.
The Virgin can read
but-
minds.
Both of them are written by women, for women, about men, and same-sex relationships.
Yeah, and I don't think I'd go so far as to say this is written for women.
No,
like,
I think-
I enjoyed this story.
We'll point out the fact that there isn't like boners everywhere. Like,
Yes, no, I mean, like,
there were.
I think it's written for teens and it's meant to be age appropriate.
yes,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Sure, yes, a younger audience for sure.
But I'm just saying, in real life, they're doing more than just kissing in the library that many times.
But yeah, no, Bryce, you brought up a potential question about Ben that sort of recontextualized him for me. The fact that
Oh, he has his
would
own stupid demons.
Yeah, like Ben and Nick sort of are going through a similar crisis of sexuality, and Ben is not doing it
I
great.
was gonna say, just handling
Yeah, they're
it
going-
very, 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 very differently. Very differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be interesting if Ben had the opportunity to talk, or at least gave Charlie the space to have a communication with him. Would it be a more healthy relationship, which was an interesting idea.
Yeah. But I mean, first he's got to stop beating himself up about it.
I was gonna say, like, he's not even really examining it in the way that Nick is. Like, Nick's trying to figure out, like, okay, what does this actually mean about me? And Ben's just like,
Yeah.
okay, this is happening. I'm just gonna deal with it, but I'm not really gonna
Just
like.
riding those hormones.
I'm not really gonna
Yeah.
look into it and like try to unpack it and like figure out like, oh, should I actually like change who I am as a result of this? Is at least how it reads to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Ben's character reminds me of somebody I knew in high school.
Oh, really?
Who I guess I would be the Charlie in the situation. And this was my very first experience. So basically, I wanted to know for myself if I was gay.
Sure.
And so for me, logically thinking, in order for me to find out if I truly was gay, I need to actually go through with the act and like make out or do something sexual with another person of the same sex.
Mhm.
And so I had a friend who had expressed interest in also figuring that out. And so we did hook up once, and it turns out I liked it. I enjoyed it. For him, he freaked out and had a whole like crisis about it. And even though I had known him since second, third grade, then very next week at school, doesn't even know who I am. Pretends to not know me, has girlfriends left and right, and yeah, he at least wasn't super awful to me. He just ignored me and pretended our friendship never existed.
I mean, that's pretty
Which I guess
awful,
is
though,
pretty
Bryce.
awful.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not
actually
great.
pretty awful,
I
Bryce.
guess that's pretty awful.
So
he
discovered that he was not gay, or was, I guess,
I mean, or that he had more. Yeah,
so
could have gone either
basically,
way.
yeah. For me, I was more like Nick in the sense that, like, okay, I think there's something different about me, and I want to find out more about it.
Sure.
And then he was more like Charlie, or I mean, more like Ben, in the sense that there's something different with me. I don't know how to deal with it, and now that I think that I am, it's freaking me out, and I gotta distance myself from everybody.
Got it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Okay. That's tough.
So, like, I think like Ben's character could definitely benefit if he was willing to look inwards on himself for a little bit first.
Yeah, some self-reflection for sure.
Yeah.
And stop making out so much. Just like, just take a breather, think it through.
Yeah, does seem to be a guy who's like leaning into physical action as opposed to actually thinking about like what the hell are you doing to the point where, you know, Nick has to come break that up.
Yeah, good
Which,
old Nick.
yeah, I mean, that is definitely boyfriend material right there. Like, that is a keeper. Even if Nick wasn't gay or Nick wasn't into Charlie, like, that is like best friend material.
For sure.
Like someone stepping in there. Yeah.
I did think it was funny how long it took Charlie to realize that Nick was gay. Like some of the things that Nick was like. Nick seems to be a pretty like physical guy. Like he likes to like hug and like touch his friends. But there were some scenes where like, oh, you got a new haircut. I'm going to cup and caress your head while I mention your haircut. It's like, I mean, come on, Charlie.
I mean, as a person who hasn't had to deal with this, I would guess it's hard to know, especially when you're supposed to like you're
Getting
supposed
it wrong is...
yeah, and like you're supposed to assume that they're straight, I would guess, in that situation, especially big jock boy here. Like
Yeah.
Sure.
And I mean, like, the gay thing aside, like, even if this were like a straight couple, having your dream crush, you know, like, compliment you and like be affectionate towards you, you might want to, like, am I daydreaming here, or is he actually being real? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
And if you've got a friendship too, like again, like straight or gay or whatever, like you don't want to ruin or overcomplicate the friendship sometimes in those situations too, because you would like to remain friends.
Which they bring that up in the show, which I guess would be volume 2 of the book.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's interesting. The show, the story. So the end of volume 2 in the comic book stops right after the kiss at the birthday. And then Nick hears his friends calling him out, gets freaked out, and basically just abandons Charlie.
Yeah, that's volume 1.
Yeah, that's where... No, it's volume 2. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say volume 2?
Yeah, no worries.
The volume we read stops right there with Charlie being abandoned. That's just the end, which was awful. It's like, this is where it's going to stop?
It's a heck of a cliffhanger, though. I did have to like stop myself from going to continue. I mean, there's a little preview in the back, so at least there's that.
It needs to... Oh, God, no. They have to be happy. So, yeah, I kept reading after that because fuck that.
I mean, the little preview...
I'm not gonna stop there.
The little preview in the back of the book gives you a little bit of like, okay, this is not... It's going to end... It's going to end okay.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting because the Netflix show keeps going. It stops with Nick arriving at the house in the rain, like with Charlie opening the door to see Nick drenched in rain on his doorstep, and that's where it ends. It's like, okay, that's the happier cliffhanger.
That is probably a better place to stop it, honestly.
I mean, it certainly kept me reading for sure.
As far as like if you want the people to still feel wholesome about it at the end, but.
Yeah,
maybe that is why the preview for volume 2 is in the back of this thing at volume 1.
Just like, no, it's okay. It's
gonna
okay.
be all right. Don't worry.
So on to the next question.
Yeah, Bryce, I sort of like hijacked one of your questions. Do you want to do another one?
Why is Nick and Charlie's relationship a positive example of a same-sex relationship?
I'm just going to throw out communication.
I mean, that's kind of it, right?
They talk to each other
Turns
about
out
what they're feeling and what they want to do.
that's the goddamn
They
secret.
check in all the time. Are you okay? Or is everything all right? How's it going? And yeah, it's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, coming from like the BL manga world, there are definitely some very unhealthy relationships in that world.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was very nice to see like just a pure innocent like teen romance where people are communicating, no one's being forced up against a wall,
No cabedones anywhere. What the heck?
I mean,
no mind
hold
reading.
on. There
Yeah.
was not in this relationship, obviously, but there was some forcing up against a wall, right? We were told
Sure,
we were
right,
shown the
Ben.
forcing up against the wall is bad, though.
Yeah, with the bad character.
Yes,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think in addition,
Plus, there's dogs.
there are dogs.
So
I mean, in addition to them being communicative, like they also kind of inspire each other to be better versions of themselves too, which I think is also important. Like, so, like Nick kind of quote unquote rescues Charlie from Ben the first time that Ben is much too forward with him, right?
Mhm.
But the second time, Charlie's able to handle it himself, and part of that's because Nick's shown him that he can. So I think that's worth pointing out. And then also, as a result of his friendship slash budding relationship with Charlie, Nick is figuring out aspects of himself that he didn't even really know existed.
well, he's also saying that his friends are
Kind of suck. Kind of all suck.
Yeah, are sort of horrible, and that's a really good development for him to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, people you spend time with, it's important that they're good people. They aren't just a bunch of dickheads.
Yeah, I think to the positive aspect of it too, like a lot of times when the characters are given a chance to react to a situation, they do so in a way that is good. Like, so I guess I'm specifically thinking about Nick. You turn the page after he's talking to his friend Harry, and like he could easily cave or like try to like rejoin that friend group, and instead he talks about how Harry's a homophobic, self-obsessed dick, and he really dislikes him. It's like, all right, let's do it. Like, I think part of the reason it's a positive relationship is just because the people are positive, which is good.
I feel like that's such a British way to end that uh that insult or comeback. It's just, and I really dislike you.
I am not a fan.
Yeah, and I think like having these two characters it's just such a good role model for kids and teens to read this book.
Yeah,
Like showing them what a healthy relationship is, basically.
also really liked that they had Tara and Darcy as an example of another gay relationship that's working. And I think
yeah, they're not we read, but yeah, in the show.
They meet at the party, don't they? Isn't Tara?
Yeah, they show
Tara
up
and
at the
Darcy?
party.
They're there for like a second, I think.
Sure, but that's where Nick finds out that Tara is gay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even Tara like offers to like, hey, do you need to talk about anything? Like,
yeah, if you want to talk, I'm here, which is really
there
great.
are so many positive people in this comic, like just talking about their feelings and their attraction to people of the same sex, and that's nice.
Yeah, I did think it was funny. Later on, they go to Paris for like a week for school, for a trip, and their chaperones are two teachers who are both guys, and of course it turns out they're also gay. It's like, oh my gosh, everyone in this story. They're coming out of the woodwork. Watch out. And yeah, the coach too in rugby.
Oh yeah, I really like that scene. One of the questions I suggested we do, which maybe might have been better actually, is just like, what is your favorite scene? And I did like that scene a lot, where the coach just comes to talk to the kids and is like, "There's not only gay and straight, also it's none of your goddamn business."
Also, it's rude to talk about other people's sexuality. Go home. Yeah, she's cool. I like her.
Yeah, and again, like the world to be that open about it and having people talk about it, but also like educate, like the world is kind of educating kids about it. It also encourages kids to educate themselves about it, which like That would be nice. In a lot of places, it is the world we live in. I googled Heartstopper band book, so I was like, it must be banned somewhere. So
Yeah.
I'm slightly down at the moment. Sorry.
I'm sure somewhere in the South people are working on it.
Wyoming apparently is a potential thing, but it actually I don't see any quote unquote official bannings here in the banned book project website that I'm looking at. So.
Yeah, I think the author was writing something about Turkey.
I think Istanbul is the other one that I'm seeing here.
Yeah,
Constantinople,
Yeah, all in all, a very positive book.
What I think is really weird, though, is that I don't think there's any homophobic adults.
No, I think it's kept with the kids, which I think is another way that it is more aimed for a younger audience. Because I think once you get homophobic adults, it gets a little scarier. Like it gets more
realistic.
Yeah,
real.
we
Yeah.
don't see a lot of adults, right?
Adults
Do we see
either,
anyone besides like a couple teachers and
Coach.
The
Charlie's-
mom and
Charlie and
yeah.
Nick's parents.
Yeah. Which everyone that we've met so far is very accepting. Later on, Nick's father is a problem
Not so
for
hot.
Nick. Also, Nick has an older brother who's also a bit of a dick.
Ah.
But yeah,
That I did not know.
volume. Yeah, you should keep reading this, Bryce. It's good.
Yeah, this is like, I don't know. I read it and I was like, I liked that. I don't know if I'll read the second one just because, like, I might be at a point in my life where I'm like, teen romance doesn't quite
Wholesome
get
things
me.
don't do it for
No, I
anyone.
mean, wholesome things do. I liked it. That's the thing I was trying to unpack, actually. It's like, I did really like it. It's a fast read, so, like, if I see it in the library, I'll probably grab volume 2. Or, like, I've got a Webtoon spot open at the moment, so maybe I'll try to work it in there or something. But, like, I liked it, and it's one of those things where I really understand why it's as popular as it is, but it's not like, I'm not immediately like, I must read the next one. But I guess I've
Sure.
never been quite as into, like, wholesome romance as I think both of you guys are. If that makes sense.
You might feel different about the show.
Yes, that is also possible. So I do have
Yeah.
the show queued up to watch an episode of it. Probably.
I mean,
sometime
the
this week.
comic does get, I don't want to say darker, but like Charlie goes through some stuff.
Mhm.
See, I don't even know if I want
So-
that. Like, I don't want it to get darker. I like the tone it's at. I just don't like. No one's punching anyone. There's no explosions, so I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't get like that, but it gets more
Yeah.
like we know that Charlie went through hell at school the previous
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that crops
I was
up
actually
again.
wondering if they would talk about that in more depth, because it is hand waved a little bit in this, to the point where I'm like,
Yeah.
he goes
Like
from
emotional
being
and
outed to
mental
just being
trauma.
like crazy popular, and I was like, well, I mean, okay, that's also kind of weird. I feel like is he just popular because he's gay then, or I don't know.
It's weird because us growing up in school, I didn't know of anyone in high school. Matt, I don't know if you know anyone who is out as gay.
Not out, I don't believe. No.
So like, it would be interesting to know if the generation now going through high school. I'm assuming from what I've read online that it's much better and easier for queer and gay students just to be themselves in school, out in public.
I'm sure that
I hope that's
depends
true.
on location, but let's hopefully say that
Yeah.
it's overall better. But
Yeah, I get that sense too. Even for me, I only knew like 4 or 5 other gay people in high school.
Sure. And that's in California too, which is much
Mhm.
more accepting. So yeah, I mean, it's possible that disconnect you're having, Matt, with the fact that he's popular now might just be because of our experience.
Yeah.
Maybe a younger person reading this wouldn't have that.
Which, again, this is very popular with teens, and I'm very happy it's popular with teens, because that means nice, wholesome, same-sex romance content is popular with the teens, and they're better than us,
Yeah.
and that's good. Thanks, teens.
Yay. Yeah, I highly recommend this. I don't know if we were going to do other recommendations.
I think we could. I've got one. Which is just a book that we've read in the past for the podcast, but reading this made me be like, oh yeah, I should go finish that.
Which was that?
My Love Story. There's also
yes, I was
another
thinking the same thing.
wholesome romance comic where mostly it's just like there's some drama, but it's
Much more
mostly just
comedic.
like, yeah, it is a little bit like funnier, right? But it's mostly wholesome people doing wholesome things. Like this is mostly wholesome people doing wholesome things. Yeah,
I did get similar feelings, yes, reading this as I did that.
that would be my recommendation. Do you guys have some? We can also reach outside the realms of comics. I do think if you read this and liked it, you should probably read some John Green books because it's in a similar
Yeah,
wheelhouse.
similar grain. Yeah, I'd agree with that. The one that I would recommend, the comic that I would recommend off of this is another web comic that I'm pretty sure that I got from one of those NPR massive lists of must-read graphic novels / web comics or whatever. Pretty sure we talked about it in the comic book resource episode. But it's a comic called The Less Than Epic Adventures of TJ and Amal. And it's basically a road trip of two guys. Amal basically had an arranged marriage and came out to his conservative parents and gets disowned, goes on a bender and wakes up to find TJ in his house cooking him eggs. And basically they make a deal that they're going to drive across country to be there for Amal's younger sister's graduation. And Amal's going to drive and TJ's going to pay. And it's just a story of them driving across country. It's much more mature. This is definitely not written for kids.
I'm
It's
glad you
for
mentioned
adults.
that because I looked at the thing and it's got like a mature readers tag right on the front page of the website, and I was like,
Yes, there is sex and some of it is explicit, but it's not like gratuitous. And I got a similar. It's a moving story about two men and growing relationship between them. I would recommend it.
For me, this is a book that I've read so long ago I barely remember it, but I'm gonna just read the blurb that I found on Goodreads. So it's a book called Hero, and it's written by Perry Moore. And the blurb is: the last thing in the world Tom Creed wants is to add to his father's pain, so he keeps secrets. Like that he has special powers, and that he has been asked to join the League, the very organization of superheroes that spurned his dad. But the most painful secret of all is one Tom can barely face himself. He's gay. But becoming a member of the League opens up a new world to Tom. There he connects with a misfit group of aspiring heroes, including Scarlet, who can control fire but not her anger, Typhoid Larry, who can make anyone sick with his touch, and Roof, a wise old broad who can see the future. Like Tom, these heroes have things to hide, but they will have to learn to trust one another when they uncover a deadly conspiracy within the League. To survive, Tom will face challenges he's never imagined. To find happiness, he'll have to come to terms with his father's past and discover the kind of hero he really wants to be. So it's not just like hiding, your sexuality, but it's also hiding your superhero like ability. It was really cute. It is a teen novel, and so it's a lot of action, a lot of self-reflection.
Sure.
Yeah.
nice.
And anyone watching the Netflix show, if you liked that, I would recommend Sex Education. I think there's 2 or 3 seasons of it out now on Netflix. It's also pretty good. It's also set in the UK.
What's that about?
And it's about teens dealing with sexuality and what it means to, yeah, exploring sex and what it means and how awkward it can be. And yeah, it's also a really good show.
I found.
And if you also like the show, then just watch anything with Olivia Colman in it, because Olivia
Oh,
Colman's in the
yes.
show, and I like her a lot.
She's the best. Oh, the new Doctor Who is actually one of the characters in Sex Education. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Huh.
He's the gay kid. So, watch it. See the Doctor.
It's a small,
I didn't even know.
gay British world out there.
Yeah, I feel like they're all in each other's projects all the time.
I think that is going to do it for this month's discussion of Heartstopper. As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or myself, you can email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com. You can also find more comics-related goodness at mattreadscomics.com. Bryce, do you have a place online that you would want people to find you, talk to you about Heartstopper and other things?
Absolutely.
It's okay to say no.
Y'all can find me on Instagram at DuoMaxWellll, Duo Maxwell. And I'm sure if you Google that, you can find other things about me.
Ooh, treat. Yeah, thanks again, Bryce, for showing up. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this
No
comic a
problem.
lot. I was happy to read it, and will read more of it.
Any opportunity I get to advance my gay agenda.
That's right.
Yeah. It's the future
You
of the
gotta meet your quota.
I mean, the podcast has a gay agenda. It's not just your gay agenda, Bryce.